most evil people you have never heard of.
Never heard of.
Alright, bro. We got Vasily Blokhin. Bro. Wait, did I say that wrong? Is it Vasily Blokhin? Bro, I don't know how to say this shit, bro. Let's see what this nigga did. Hold on. If you love what you do, you will never work a day in your life. Nah, that's facts, though. That's definitely facts. Bro, if you love what your job is, you'll never really work a day in your life because you're just going to keep doing that because you love doing that.
Blokhin, the deadliest executioner in known human history. Blokhin got his first taste for blood after joining the Red Army during the events of World War I. Over the years, he became the perfect soldier, one who is able to perform tasks effectively, efficiently, and without hesitation.
So does that technically make him evil, though? I mean, he was doing his job.
Of course, really accelerated Blokhin's military career, as in 1921, he was recruited into the Soviet secret police organization known as the NKVD.
Hey, that group name was called Naked Video. It was an abbreviation for Naked Video. Hear me out, bro. That's the abbreviation for Naked Video.
One bonus on his extensive resume was his innate ability to remain emotionally numb when carrying out acts of violence. He simply saw it as part of the job, comparative to menial tasks.
It was his
like
job, though.
We're having to put
but low-key, that's low-key crazy. No, we not gonna hide the fact that that shit is actually crazy, though. I said, bro, did his job with no emotion. Nah, that's crazy. That means something is wrong with bro.
Ever from HR's incessant complaints that your funny shirt just isn't work appropriate. Blokhin's unique skill, if you would call it that, quickly distinguished him amongst his peers. If you needed someone dead, Vasily was your guy.
Nah, that's definitely a skill. Bro, to hide like all your emotions, bro, that is like a big skill.
His work and unwavering loyalty continued to push him upward and onward. In just 6 years, he was assigned as head of a newly created branch of the NKVD by Mr. Supreme Soviet leader guy Joseph Stalin, a branch specifically designed for executions. And with that, Blokhin had become one of Stalin's most trusted workers, executing low and high-profile targets without question.
Excellent work, Blokhin. That goes right up on fridge.
During his service, Blokhin had personally executed thousands of people, including high-ranking Soviet officials, during the Great Purge, an internal mass execution of
they had a purge in real life? How the world going now, but they low-key gonna think about bringing that back, bro. We can't have that again, bro. You know, I don't want to be part of a purge, bro. I'm happy with my life making YouTube videos.
Remotely accused of opposing Stalin's rule. Blokhin himself had been spared from the purge due to his repeated proofs of loyalty to the Soviet cause, his magnum opus being his involvement in the Katyn massacre. Now, if you've never heard of the Katyn massacre, I wouldn't be surprised. When teaching about World War II, history classes tend to focus on German war atrocities.
This shows how much I paid attention in history, bro. Like, history was interesting, but oh my god, it's so long and boring to learn about. Not gonna care. It is interesting,
Skim
though.
over all the other ones, especially the Soviet Union.
I feel like you just
Despite
gotta really be
German
locked
invasion
in.
of Poland in 1939 and World War II officially starting, the Allied powers of Great Britain and France didn't really do much in retaliation.
Oh, Germany, you better leave Poland alone.
Oh, fair point. Carry on. The big bad Soviet Union had also invaded Poland just a few weeks later, capturing hundreds of thousands of Polish prisoners of war, many of which were sent to
That's what countries was doing? Just like jumping up on each other, having fucking gang fights and shit? Is that like basically what countries be doing, bro? Nah, cause they be like allying and shit, and then they'll attack like one country. Nah, these niggas real life be joining gangs.
In the spring of 1940, around 22,000 prisoners consisting of Polish officers, engineers, teachers, and other civilians were systematically executed under Blokhin's supervision, with Blokhin himself having personally executed over 7,000 people in just 28 days. Now think about that for a second. 7,000 people in 28 days.
Yo! Nigga, 7,000 people in 28 days? Nah, I gotta do the math on that. Bro, I just did the math on that. He had 250 bodies per day. 250 bodies per day? This man was evil. No. 250 50 bodies per day in a span of 28 days. Yo, this man was evil. Bro, y'all ever watch SpongeBob and have that episode where you go, evil? Evil?
That's 250 people a day.
Locking, bro.
Now, Blocken and his men reportedly would work 10-hour days nonstop, so that's 25 people an hour. One person every 2 to 3 minutes. Now,
these niggas was literal soldiers. Bro, they were on some movie type shit. Like, this sounds so unreal. Dog, 25 bodies per hour.
Indirectly through ordering his men.
Mind you, he just said they weren't even working the whole day. They was working for like 10 hours.
Developed an assembly line of death so efficient it would make Henry Ford envious. Prisoners would be escorted into a soundproofed room against a sandbag-lined wall. Without a word, these prisoners' last sensation would be feeling the muzzle of a German pistol in the back of their neck before being brutally murdered. Wait, a German pistol? I hear you ask. Why would Soviets be using German pistols? 2 words: plausible deniability. Think of it this way. If thousands of victims in mass graves happen to be found with German bullets lodged in their noggins, who do you think's going to be blamed? Don't look at us. It was them. Blocken's massacre is regarded as the largest mass murder conducted by a single person in known human history.
Yeah, of course. I'm not surprised.
Really stretching for content there. It is believed that throughout his career, Blocken's personal kill count had reached tens of thousands, but his spree would soon come to an end. After Stalin privately passed away in a puddle of piss in 1953, Blocken was forced into...
Yo, he died in a puddle of piss. Yeah, that definitely might be one of the worst ways to die, bro. You just died full of piss. Damn, bro. Damn. Hell way to die. Let's be real.
Retirement in disgrace. He was ostracized by the public and stripped of his military honors during the de-Stalinization of the Soviet Union. So, of course, he did what any Russian does when they're sad or happy or breathing. He consumed a lot of alcohol. That eventually led to his death in 1955 at the age of 60.
World's biggest downfall. He went from all-time killing machine to a downbeat alcoholic. Nah, that gotta be one of the worst one of the world's worst downfalls.
Well, dang, that's pretty evil. Sure hope nothing bad like that happens to me. Hey.
Yeah, that dude was evil
though.
Oh.
Creations of death machine for the Halo
not
10
us, kid.
All of your for the Lolo Fang. I'll even now that team needs.
Oh, all right. We got Pavilic.
Right after the thrilling events of World War I in 1918, the Austro-Hungarian Empire had collapsed. With a little bit of elbow grease and the mashing together of various kingdoms and regions, a new political entity was formed. The state of Slovenes, Croats, and Serbs. Home to many Slovenes, Croats, and Serbs.
All right, look. Let's be real.
Croats and Serbs. Home to many Slovenes, Croats.
I don't know what's a Croats and a Serbs, bruh. Slovenes, I think I know what it is. Oh, wait, is that states? Fuck it.
Croats and Serbs. One of those kingdoms thrown in the mix was Croatia, the birthplace of this stern jug of juice, Ante Pavelic. His main
okay, so it's
trait
Ante
was loving
Pavelic.
Croatia. God, he loved
Tough
Croatia.
name, not gonna
So
cap.
much so that he made a name for himself and rose through the ranks as a politician and representative in state parliament in order to demand Croatian independence. But this guy, Alexander I, had other ideas. Who's he? Well, he's the Prince Regent in these parts and the one who just got done unifying all of these kingdoms and states. Years and years of political turmoil ensued, which is honestly to be expected when you force a bunch of different political regions.
Shit, I'm talking about, bro. They be having gangs, but
now
they criticize the hood. They criticize the hood, but they low-key be in gangs too. You know what I'm saying? Huh.
Alexander had hit a boiling point. In order to regain order, he dismantled and banned all political parties, declaring a royal dictatorship. He even came up with a new name for his kingdom, Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia. But since Yugoslavia is not Croatia, Pavelić had it. He fled the kingdom and conspired with revolutionary groups to undermine the rule of Yugoslavia, who responded, "Do you want a death sentence? 'Cause that's how you get a death sentence." And so Pavelić got a death sentence. He was
Damn.
exiled to Germany, but since he didn't feel like dying quite yet, he instead skedaddled off to seek asylum in Italy. There, he used his political influence and persuasive stern look to form the Ustasha, a Croatian nationalist movement aimed at achieving Croatian independence by any means necessary. And you can bet your fat tits that means bombings, assassinations, and uprisings. During said uprisings, King Alexander regrettably stated, "If you want a regime change, you need to kill me." They did. On October 9th, 1934, King Alexander I was assassinated by Ustasha member Vlado Chernozemski using a handgun
Hey,
hidden.
they used to have some crazy names, bro.
First
Hold
was
on.
assassinated by Ustasha member
Vlado Chernozemski. Hey, crazy name though. But I feel like that's low key hard. They be having like real life movie character names.
Chernozemski using a handgun hidden in a bouquet of flowers.
Oh,
Still
yo, this nigga used a handgun hidden in flowers. Nah, that's low key wild. Crazy way to disguise your gun, bro.
in Italy, Pavelić, along with several accomplices, were determined to be culpable for the assassination and were sentenced to death by Yugoslavia's friend France, who pressured Italy to carry out the deed. And Italy was all, "Linguini fettuccini, we ask Mussolini." Thanks to his political privileges, Pavelić was only put under house arrest for 18 months. That'll teach him. Right, France? Oh, here we go. Looks like
Yo, I bet you niggas who got like hella years low-key mad at these niggas, bro. 18 months wasn't shit for him.
Germany's back at it again, and the world collectively Versailles and disappointment.
These dudes getting 18 months for doing like world
After
crisis.
the invasion of France in 1940,
And bro,
Nazi
somebody
Germany
probably
invaded
in jail right
Yugoslavia
now
in 1941. This ultimately resulted in
for like
Pavelić
2
being installed as
years
dictator to a newly
just for like a
independent
ticket or
Croatia.
something.
The mean mustache himself even met with Pavelić and gave some pointers in the art of ethnic cleansing. The only art he ever saw any success in. But Pavelić would soon put this advice into action. During World War II, Pavelić had created his own network of concentration camps run by his beloved Ustasha, one of which being the Sisak concentration camp, the only known camp specifically designed for children. These camps carried out the collection and mass murder of nearly 400,000 Serbs, Jews, and Romani, with an additional 300,000 either exiled or forcibly converted to Eastern Orthodox.
Yeah, not gonna cap. Being that high up is crazy. Let's just say that. Being that high up is crazy, bro. Being in the hundreds of thousands of like murders, that is beyond me. I feel like if you kill one person, you bad. Unless you was protecting yourself. If you protecting yourself, that's totally different, bro. But if you like did it purposely, then I just feel like you're evil at that point. You're just evil at that point.
Christianity, all for the sake of Croatian.
So being this high up, bro,
towns were
you become
completely
like
ransacked, villages were outright
damn
destroyed,
near.
and
You're
hundreds
an
of
evil
thousands of
spirit, bro.
innocent lives were lost. These actions gave the Ustasha notoriety that struck fear into the hearts of anyone who dared cross their path. Nazi Army General Edmund Gleisa-Hochtenau witnessed firsthand the atrocity of Pavelić and the Ustasha, saying, quote, "Our troops have to be mute witnesses of such events. It does not reflect well on their otherwise high reputation. The Ustasha have gone raging mad." That's pretty telling when even a Nazi general thinks you're being a bad dude.
Oh, what? That's actually
Pavelić
crazy.
got the hell out of Dodge, eventually fleeing to Argentina in 1948. But then some other surviving Ustasha members arrived. After a quick reunion of high fives and smooches, the gang wasted no time in forming the Croatian Liberation Movement. Persistent little buggers, weren't they? They were basically trying to...
Yo, why is history full of like movements, bro? It be so much movements. I can't keep up with all of them, bro. I can't keep up, bro. I can't keep up. I be trying to learn all this, bro, and I learn about history. Like I started learning more about history, but it's like, bro, it'd be too much to keep up with, bro. They be like, it'd be a movement for this and that and this and that and that and that and that and this and this. Then they got like laws getting passed for this and that. Like, bro, it's just too much.
From over here, it didn't work. After an assassination attempt in 1957, Pavelić hijacked out of Argentina,
Bro said,
eventually ending up in
bro
Spain,
said,
where he died of
guns
his
don't
injuries
kill people.
2
I
years
do.
later.
All right. ID Amin.
This is Idi Amin. regarded as one of the
At least
coolest
I got the
dictators
last
in
part
Ugandan
right.
history. He had humble beginnings back in 1946, where he served in the colonial army as a cook's assistant. In addition to cooking up a good steak, Amin was raring to have
So wait,
a
is
job
this a
well done
fellow
in his
brother?
military career. So he speed ran through promotions.
Yeah,
within the
this is
Ugandan
a
army,
brother.
making it all the way up to captain in 1962.
I'm the captain now.
All of this impressive progress received
He's
recognition
starting
from
off
Ugandan
good.
Prime Minister Milton Obote and a
Oh yeah, this nigga needed a haircut.
recognition from Ugandan Prime
This nigga needed a haircut. Oh my god, look at this. Bro, his hairline damn near like the Nike sign, bro. Nigga, just do it. just go get it fixed. Just go get it fixed. No go cap. Like you telling me bro was walking around like this? Y'all think this nigga was getting hoes? I don't know, twin. I don't know if he was getting hoes looking like this. Nigga, I thought my lips was this nigga is ugly, not gonna cap.
Minister Milton Obote and a friendship formed. Hey, hi. One that would be fruitful in many shady activities, including ivory and gold.
Oh man, that
After
dude
being
low-key
threatened
ugly.
with
Look.
investigation by-
That nigga ugly as shit. Oh man. That nigga ugly as shit. Bro, forgive me, bro, but that, oh my god, bro. Forgive me, bro.
the Ugandan parliament, Obote overthrew King President Person Mutesa II and seized the position for himself in 1966. The ex-king was exiled to the UK, where he lamented over the loss of his country, ultimately drinking himself to death just 3 years later.
Yo, why they all go out to drinking themselves to death? God damn. Bro, you know how much alcohol you have to consume to drink yourself to death? That's crazy. All these niggas just revert. They be losing like countries and shit, and then just fall off and go drink to death. Like, that's crazy.
A now more rotund Amin to commander of the Ugandan army. But all good times must come to an end. Obote himself was a terrible ruler. His regime was plagued with corruption and terror, resulting in nationwide starvation and cruelty.
Nah, this nigga. This nigga ugly as hell. Bro got the two front teeth of SpongeBob. Oh, okay, all right, bro. I'm locked in, chat. We locked back in, bro. It's not funny,
The
bro.
Ugandan people. Not surprisingly, Obote had experienced a failed assassination attempt where he was shot through the teeth and out his cheek. The assassin missed, and Obote is pissed. So in
Damn, that sounded like it hurt.
response, he had any and all political parties banned, with their members jailed for life. Meanwhile, Amin was in the corner doing his own thing, building up his beloved military for less than necessary fighting in neighboring wars. Obote didn't like that, and Amin didn't like that Obote didn't like that, so they began not liking each other. As a personal bitch slap, Obote had stripped Amin of his freshly granted commanding privileges and threatened him with jail time for misappropriating military funds. But this only activated Amin's trap card, prompting a takeover of the Ugandan government while Obote was out and about doing president things. The Ugandan people, having just gone through years of suffering under Obote's regime, were pretty
Yo, y'all used to have Yu-Gi-Oh cards? But when I was smaller, I thought about getting them, but I would never get them. Y'all know how to use that shit for real? Bro, did y'all know how to actually play Pokemon with the Pokemon cards, bro? I always had that shit, but I just knew which cards, like, was, like, good based off of if it was, like, an EX or, like, some shit like that. Or, like, a Mega card. You know what I'm talking about, bro? But I never truly knew how to play Pokemon. Like, bro, I never truly knew how to play it. I just had the cards.
thrilled and cheered Amin's efforts.
Nigga, them cards got
Controlled
banned at my middle
1971,
school, bro.
Amin declared that the military would temporarily run the government until new elections could be run. He even promised to free all political prisoners. But he never did. In reality, he flew too close to the sun, taking comfort in its warmth. Just a week later, Amin declared himself President of Uganda, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Ugandan Army Chief of Staff, and Chief of Air Staff. The ego's starting to take over a bit. With this uncontested power, Amin began systematic executions of anyone who, he believed, would oppose his rule. Roughly 15,000 civilians had disappeared, now believed to have been kidnapped and given front row tickets to Amin's newly constructed state-of-the-art torture facility. However, this failed to slake Amin's thirst for blood. He soon expanded his list of victims to various groups throughout the country. We're talking artists, journalists, lawyers, students, senior members of government, foreign nationals, anyone who had even the most infinitesimally small tie to Obote. There were even rumors
Nigga was just wiping people out just because they knew somebody. Yeah, bro, this nigga was evil too.
of Amin being a cannibal, or at least having tasted human meat, though it seems like he rated it 1 star as it was, quote, too salty for him.
What the hell?
Human rights organizations estimate that between 300,000 to 500,000 people were slain under Amin's tyrannical rule. Known as the Butcher of Africa, Idi Amin not only murdered his own people, but devastated the Ugandan.
But if he wasn't doing it, does that technically count as his murders, bro? If he didn't do it, that's not really his bodies. No, yes, he's still evil because, nigga, he made people do it, but that's not his bodies, bro.
Economy as well. He had expelled around 80,000 business owners and seized their property. So Amin walked up to an African stand and he said to the man running the stand, "Hey, bum, get out of here or I'll kill you."
Not only was he killing people, he was ruining people's lives.
Which were basically the country's
He just couldn't get enough,
backbone,
bro.
were handed off to his inner circle. And they all quickly went bankrupt from mismanagement. Edie? More like idiot. Anyway. The businesses accounted for about 90% of the government's tax revenue, so government funds went poof. Yeah, just like that. Amin became blinded with power, so much so that he was unable to see the inevitable brick wall that the country was heading towards. His closest cabinet...
Yeah, bro, too much power could be dangerous, bro. If you don't know how to handle it, definitely, bro. Fuck around, get too cocky, make the wrong move, you're cooked. You're cooked.
Members realizing that murdering everyone and crippling an economy,
that's why a lot of them fall off.
Policies started to defect, abandoning Uganda to seek safety elsewhere. Amin even began losing control over his own military. Coups and mutinies were commonplace as officers fought for power. But he had a plan. I have a plan. We're gonna take Tanzania.
I have a dream.
He's just not as funny as oversimplified. Uh-oh. Tanzania fought back hard. In order to save face, the former 10-time Ugandan light heavyweight champion Amin had a plan.
They called him a heavyweight champion.
Yeah, Amin actually suggested a boots to asses 1v1 super slam. But the Tanzanian president had a plan of his own. In the end, Amin was deposed and fled in exile, where he apparently ate up to 40 oranges a day until his death in 2003.
Damn, this nigga OD'd on oranges. Like, what's up with these stupid, powerful people? Fall into the slums and just dine out to some bullshit. That's crazy. You telling me this man OD'd on oranges? All right, bro. This is Luis Garvato.
Our last stop is definitely no picnic. Now, if this video wasn't satisfying enough, I do have more of these little evil bastards for another video. So if you want me to make it, let me know in the comments. While you're at it, let me know who you would want me to cover. For our last entry, we'll be taking a trip down to Colombia. Now, any of you Colombians out there might be familiar with this guy, but for those of us who don't put cheese in our hot chocolate, let me introduce you to
Putting
Luis
cheese in
Garavito,
hot chocolate is
perhaps one of
crazy.
the most prolific serial killers.
Yo, hold on. Did it? All right. Did we say the name right?
You to Luis Garavito, perhaps
oh,
one
I
of the
did
most
say it
prolific
right.
serial killers in modern history. This guy was a straight-up monster, appropriately nicknamed La Bestia or the Beast. Garavito was arrested in 1999 and convicted of murdering 193 children.
Bro, that's even worse than killing adults. No, cause, bro, like I said, if you in the army or something like that, and there's adults, grown adults, and you like they trying to kill you back, that's understandable. But kids, bro, that's too far. You don't. No, not the kids, bro. Kids are.
When he was just 15 in 1972. He had reportedly suffered severe depression, psychosis, and paranoia. allegedly stemming from an extremely abusive and traumatic childhood at the hand of his father. Pairing all that mental anguish with crippling alcoholism and an aggressive personality, Garavito began compulsively forcing himself
He
on
was
young
one
children.
of those.
Disgusted by his own actions, he had attempted to seek help, attending church sermons, AA meetings, and even seeing psychiatrists, wanting nothing more than to live a normal, happy life. But he was never able to claw himself out of the dark hole that he was in. Look, there's no denying that childhood trauma is tragic, but when you commit unspeakable acts of violence against innocent children, or really anyone for that matter, sympathy kind of goes out the window.
Right.
Being a victim's one thing, creating victims is another. Moving into the 80s, Garavito's habits had only escalated. He emphasized that his urges to act out were constant and, according to him, uncontrollable. He would impulsively assault homeless children, and to make matters worse, began carrying razor blades and lighters to satiate his growing lust for violence.
How do you even help people like this? Like we have to genuinely sit and think about that question for a long time, bro. How do we help people like this? Could they even be helped? Should they be helped? I feel like, bro, we just gotta find a way to stop it before it turns to this. I don't know, bro. You know, not everybody could be saved, bro. I can't save everybody, bro.
After each outburst and eventually regaining his composure, Garavito claimed that he would be overwhelmed with guilt. He would write down the names of his victims in a notebook and pray for their safety. At this point, his victim count had crossed above 100.
He would pray for their safety?
Devastated
What?
by his supposedly uncontrollable impulses, he desperately tried to find any answers as to why he was the way he was. He looked to religion, astrology, the occult, really anything that could potentially bring
he
him
was
some revelation.
sick.
But during this little literary leap, he had stumbled upon a certain notorious autobiography. With each turn of the page, Garavito really started relating to this Adolf guy. I mean, they both suffered abusive childhoods, lived in poverty, are both complete dickholes, you know, that kind of stuff. Luis even went a bit further and began idolizing one Campo Delgado, a Colombian serial killer who had publicly murdered.
He was idolizing serial killers? I didn't know people do that. I didn't know people idolize these niggas.
28 people, including his own mother, in the 1980s. More specifically, he admired the national attention that Delgado received and wanted to experience that firsthand. Now, the 1990s is where Garavito really went off the rails. He was now apathetic in his crimes. He felt nothing. No remorse, no sorrow, nothing. With all emotional ties cut, Garavito's actions hit an apex. Across this decade, Luis committed the mass murder and assault of hundreds of children. In disguise, he lured victims into secluded areas in broad daylight where they were assaulted, stabbed, cut, burned, beaten, eviscerated, and dismembered.
Yo, nah, he's top tier sick is on the list. Bro, like, this is just beyond me. What could possess you to truly enjoy something like this? Like what make you enjoy something, bro? So much questions with no answers.
After their
bro.
passing, the victims were often placed in dozens of mass graves scattered across the countryside.
I think in the
Some
future, bro, we
containing
should
as
do
many as
like a
40
talk with a
bodies.
serial
Now,
killer,
you can't
bro.
really hide violence of that
Just so I
caliber
could
for long,
understand
eventually
why
the
they
graves
think
were
like that,
discovered
bro.
In 1998, and an official investigation was launched. Because of his continued alcoholism, Garavito's work was sloppy.
Of course,
He
we're
would
gonna have
often
bro
leave
locked
articles
up,
of
though.
clothing
He gonna be
and
cuffed
liquor
up and
bottles
everything.
of
This
various
nigga not finna kill
belongings
me.
at his crime scenes.
No, no,
Honestly,
no,
it's
no, no,
kinda
no,
weird
no,
that it
no.
took so long to get caught, but the mountains of evidence did eventually lead to his arrest in 1999. While being interrogated, Garavito confessed to the murder of hundreds of children. Now, of course, in order to prevent the large sandpaper
Hey, what y'all think, bro? They should bring back the death penalty for stuff like this. Not for like little shit, for like serious shit like this. Y'all think they should bring the death penalty back, bro? For stuff like this, though. Not for nothing minor, because some of y'all gonna be like, yeah, and try to put a nigga in a death penalty just because he passed the red light.
unlubed fist of YouTube from giving my butthole an identical neighbor, I of course cannot go into the nitty-gritty of the crimes. You morbidly curious little deviants would have to look that up for yourselves.
Yeah,
Can't
nah,
say I
I'm
didn't
not
warn ya.
that
In the
curious,
end,
bro.
Garavito's crimes rightfully warranted a sentence of up to 1,853 years.
This wanna be the-
9 days, in prison.
I want
It's
this to
pretty
be
great.
the last time I
Except for
hear
the
of
fact
this
that
dude.
Colombian law at the time prevented any sentence from being longer than 40 years. And get this, since he had given a full confession and even helped investigators find the bodies, his sentence was further reduced down to just 22 years, and the Colombian population was pissed.
They gave
But
him
luckily, in
22
2021,
years.
Garavito's parole was personally denied by the Colombian president, who vowed that he would never be a free man again. And he never was.
Yeah, he don't
Garavito was
need to be
diagnosed with
free.
eye cancer and died in prison in 2023. That video was a real doozy, wasn't it? Looks like you need to clean your mind of all this negativity. So go ahead and click the link below to play Crossout. It's free.
Oh, that is the end of the video. W video, bro. W video. W video, W video, W video. With that being said, bro, like, comment, and subscribe, bro. Shouldn't have to keep telling y'all this, bro. I'm out. Tap in with the game. And also, bro, not to mention, I do go live on TikTok at 9:30 at night. So you watch this video, tap in with the TikTok live twin. Once we get better Wi-Fi, we're going to Twitch. www.